up our industry panelists to come up and join us. In case you have not seen them, there are copies of our agenda on your tables. So we will do our darndest to keep on schedule, but you can find the agenda for the rest of the day on your table. Let me introduce this panel. With us today are Marna Bronfman-Moore, Senior Vice President for Human Resources at AngioDynamics, a global manufacturer of minimally invasive medical devices for vascular access, peripheral vascular disease, and oncology. Headquartered in Latham, AngioDynamics has New York State manufacturing facilities in Queensbury and in Glens Falls. Jennifer Peck from Baxter unfortunately could not join us. Baxter, as many of you know, for longtime upstaters, we still think of Baxter as Welch Allyn, that became part of Hill-Rom, which has now been acquired by Baxter, is a leading producer of medical devices for critical hospital, nutritional, renal, and surgical care with manufacturing facilities in Skaneateles, New York. Rocio Manriquez is the Senior Director for Operational Excellence at CONMED Corporation, founded in Utica, where it continues to maintain manufacturing facilities. CONMED is a leader in orthopedic, surgical, gynecologic, and cardiology care. And Kate Phillips, Executive Director for Human Resources at Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, one of the world's leading biotechnology and pharmaceutical companies. Regeneron maintains its world headquarters in Tarrytown and has really incredible advanced manufacturing facilities up in Rensselaer. Kate, let me just say on behalf of the world, and I understand that you are singularly responsible for all of Regeneron's developments in the COVID space.
Let's go with that.
Keep up the good work, and if you could solve that problem by, the end of the week, that would be terrific. And moderating our panel, and this is a treat for me, because I'm always looking for opportunities to collaborate with other like-minded organizations, but we have Amber Rangel Mooney, Director for Workforce Development at the Business Council of New York. The Business Council is the leading business organization in the state with roughly 3,500 member companies, and they represent over 1.2 million New Yorkers. So Amber, it's terrific to have you here. With that, I will turn the mic over to Amber for our industry discussion. Thanks.
Thank you. Is this working? We got all these mics working now? Great, thank you. Like Wynn said, I'm Director of Workforce Development for the Business Council of New York State. Of those 3,500 members, about 77% of them are small businesses. I lead our child care, education, and workforce policy and programs. And one thing, just kind of piggybacking on what Hope Knight was talking about, one thing that we see as a huge opportunity is obviously new funding from the state for workforce development, because we all like money for things, to pay for things that we need. But one of the challenges that we know that businesses have had is accessing that money and really putting it to use. So when while we appreciate the funding, when it becomes too onerous, businesses just don't want to go for it, right? They'd rather do it on their own or not do it at all, which is a lot of what we're seeing. And one thing that we do see a lot of opportunity with the Office of Workforce Development shifting to ESD. Obviously, it'll still be working with DOL. But one opportunity that I think that I've been talking with the governor's office about, and ESD and DOL and everybody who will listen to me, is the opportunity for intermediary organizations like chambers of commerce, like industry associations like MedTech, to get together groups of companies, regional and sector-based, developing regional and sector-based strategies for workforce development. I think there's an opportunity. Obviously, we all know, business people, we're all busy, right? We all have our own stuff to do, and sitting down with education and training providers to develop new programs takes time and energy, and especially small businesses don't have the bandwidth to do that. Developing sector-based strategies can help that. So that's one thing we keep talking about. We'll keep talking about it, especially if we're going to get $350 million for workforce development, additional for workforce development, which is in the governor's proposed budget, which I'm personally pretty excited about. And one thing I will say to the woman in the back who asked earlier about, kind of the K-12, the K-12 pathway. One thing on our advocacy side in education that we're advocating for with the state education department right now is doing a review of graduation standards. So we still want high standards, we still want STEM education, we still want calculus, math and science and all of that, but computer science especially. But one thing that there is an opportunity for is essential skills to be taught across the board. We know P-TECH programs do this really well, we know BOCES programs do it well, but if all students graduating from high school had skills like problem solving, critical thinking, collaboration, working with teams, communication, public speaking, these are things that we need in the workplace. So that's something we're working on, but is also part of the whole pipeline. And I'll just get one more plug in before we start our panel. But one thing that we just launched, and we have applications open now for, is our Workforce Innovation Awards. So we're doing a statewide Workforce Innovation Awards application open now. The awards ceremony will be in May. We're accepting applications until March 27th. But we're focused on uplifting and sharing information about the programs that really are delivering what businesses need. So there's a P12 award, a higher ed award, and a nonprofit award, and a business leadership award. So part of this is, there's a social media aspect that we'll be sharing finalists on social media with videos and promoting them. So more people need to know about some of the programs that do exist that they're just not getting enough people into. So thank you for humoring me and listening to my commercial. But let's get started. So I'm going to start with a question for all the panelists. Tell us about the exact nature of your workforce challenges, including your company's needs, training requirements, geographic location, competition, and other issues affecting your hiring needs and challenges. And I'll start with Marna at the end.
Thank you. Oh boy, this one works. So, really appreciate being here. Thank you so much for having me on this very important panel. I want to start with a little bit about AngioDynamics. AngioDynamics has a very rich 34-year history in upstate New York, and it's also known as the Catheter Valley. And we have been growing our company, and it's been a really exciting time for us through our strategic transformation. We manufacture products that physicians use for both cancer and peripheral vascular disease. We've talked a lot on our investor calls about some of the challenges that we've experienced, and they're really fall into three different areas. The first is around our competition. So in our region, we do compete with other medical device technology companies like BD, Bard, or Medline, but we're also competing with other sectors such as retail, service, and others. So we're all vying for the same talent pool in the region. Additionally, like many of our other competitors, we're managing through wage pressures in the macro environment that we have today. Weight compensation is an issue, and it's industry-wide, it's also national. So every one of our competitors is managing through the wage pressures that we're experiencing as well. The third is obviously the COVID pandemic has created challenges that we never thought we would have to experience. It's unprecedented what we've had to work through. And a lot of companies are now moving to a remote, flexible work environment. We've been able to do that in our office environment. However, in our manufacturing organization, which is primarily done up north, We are unable to do that. When you have employees who need to work a regular shift on a line, it certainly makes for a challenge to offer the flexibility, although we do our best to accommodate the specific needs of our employees. At the end of the day, we're growing, as we've referenced many times on several investor calls, which we're extremely excited about, and we need a population of employees that can fuel that growth, and that's been our largest challenge, obviously. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Kate?
Good afternoon, everybody. As mentioned, I'm with Regeneron Pharmaceuticals. We've obviously had the opportunity and been blessed with obviously saving the world to some extent. I personally, as mentioned before, but in all seriousness, it's been, although very, very challenging for our workforce, just a huge honor to be part of the solution of the COVID pandemic. Our employees every day were reminded, not only because of what we talked about at work, but also just what they were experiencing in their family lives, how impactful COVID-19 could be to every single individual, as many of you probably were impacted as well. So to be part of that solution was nothing short of amazing. It fueled motivation. It gave us unbelievable brand recognition. So hiring people over the past 2 years has not been as challenging as maybe other companies have experienced. We were hybrid. I guess about 50% of our population did need to come to site, and their safety and the safety of our product was our most important challenge. We thankfully had no community spread of COVID on site, but at times had more than 500, 600 employees restricted from coming on site because of either themselves or their families being exposed or having COVID-19. So that was something that was constantly on our mind, because obviously if we shorted the market, there was huge implications to that. It wasn't just us too, it was keeping our CMOs safe as well, and working with our external partners to ensure that we could get the supplies we needed to make our product, and also ensure that we could fill and finish and get the product out to everyone who needed it. Fill Finish is a new brand for us, a new market. We are building a new facility over on Temple Lane in Rensselaer. It's a whole new side of the business we've never really been exposed to before. So that's also a challenge for us, is finding the talent in Fill Finish, bringing it to this area, because not many folks do that here. And part of our strategy is building it in-house, partnering with high schools, local community colleges, and bringing in kind of a new talent source of high school grads and community college grads to come and work on that side of the house for us. So although been challenging, it's also been ridiculously rewarding. Never been prouder to say that I've worked for Regeneron, and I really didn't do that much. So I'll take the credit any day, Wynn, thanks.
Takes a village, right?
Absolutely.
Sounds good. So I'm coming from Carmen. My name is Rocio. And well, Carmen has been, I think, is it working? No, not working. Thank you. All right. And no, different challenges, I guess, like you mentioned. I mean, we're a growing company. During pandemic, we care about patient monitoring, so our demand increased. But our population also reduced. So I think our company is based on people, and the success of the company has been that loyal people that we have in town. So our main challenge has been not retaining, but attracting additional personnel. Our tenure in there, or seniority, it's over 30 years. So what we've been seeing is people that is retiring now. So training and handing that knowledge to a new generation, and that has been the main challenge, and how to retain those. I think the purpose, the mission, and everything, it's very well known. I mean, we're also doing a great contribution to the community. So that is attracting initially our younger generations, but after 2 years, 3 years, I mean, they want to do something in other areas of the country or explore some other horizons. So that has been the biggest challenge. Obviously, wage increases as well has been hard to keep up. So not only increasing the people that we're bringing, but then you have to take care of whomever you have inside. So that has been hard to manage. Also competition. I mean, like you said, is not only medical device. And even though we need skilled people, we're competing with some other electronics and some other companies that are also growing and installing in the area. So yeah, I mean. Especially what we saw during pandemic, I mean, temporal personnel was hard to maintain and to retain. Obviously, there was some benefits and everything around that made it hard to retain in there. So yeah, but in general, I mean, very proud of our people. We have a very diverse population, about 27 countries represented in there. So that's an area where refugee centers are close by, and that was our biggest pool of people. So very loyal and great workers in there. So yeah.
I could stand up apparently, but I'm rather sit, so I'll just share this mic. So I'll just, the next question for Kate. So Regeneron's obviously seen explosive growth. I live in Troy, so everyone new coming to Troy seems like they're coming to Troy to work for Regeneron. But so tell us, how does the explosive growth being in the news, how has it affected recruiting and retaining people?
First, I just want to say, I knew I liked you, Amber. I'm also from Troy, so all good people come from Troy is my philosophy. But glad to hear that Troy is getting some good people. So we have hired 1,000 people in the past, just here in the Rensselaer area in the past 2 years. Not some replacement, but we had very low attrition in 2020, I think is probably most of people experienced. But I mean, like I had mentioned, we have a lot of brand recognition. Alex Steele is also here with me. He runs our university relations program, and just our brand recognition on campus is obviously have been fantastic. So it's been, I don't want to say easy. Getting anybody to move to the Albany area is not always easy, but knowing that they're part of something bigger than themselves has, I think, made our challenge a little less. Retaining folks is obviously something that's always on the top of our mind. We try to meet employees where we are, or where they are, excuse me. Although what we have accomplished over the past 2 years is significant, it also required a lot from our employees. And I just think people in general are exhausted from the pandemic. From your personal life, from homeschooling your children, which P.S. I was never meant to be a teacher and never should. I was a terrible homeschooler, but I just think people are tired. So that's something that's on my mind every day. As people are coming back to work. We did return all of our folks back to work earlier in the month. And we're trying to make sure that the well-being of our employees is where it needs to be. We actually hired 2 external behavioral health consultants to sit on site, just so employees can come and talk about the stresses that they're having at home, perhaps maybe the stresses they're having at work, because that is something that we're starting to notice, that people who are choosing to leave are really just tired and looking for something new. We are a company that really prides ourselves on our culture. That's been hard to maintain over the past 2 years as we haven't been able to be face-to-face. So we're doing all kinds of things from, just our senior leaders standing at the front doors handing out little packets of pub mix, trying to have some happy hours at local places like June Farms, once hopefully this weather continues. Just things to remind people how important it is to have those relationships, build those relationships, and remind us all in terms of why we came to Regeneron in the first place, now that the excitement has kind of died down a little.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have had that conversation as, everybody wants to celebrate remote work and it's this new thing, but there is a community building that helps you with retention. And shout out Alex, you must have a good, I won't name drop the university, but I'm in a graduate program, and one of my classmates just changed jobs, moved to the area to go work at Regeneron. So shout out his work. So Marna, next question for you. AngioDynamics, not only, obviously you mentioned the catheter valley. I didn't know that was a thing. But what does it mean to have other like-minded companies in your immediate neighborhood, and how does that proximity affect your workforce issues?
Thank you. So I've actually worked for several of these companies. The medical device industry, if you didn't know, is extremely incestuous in terms of the hiring of people across various industries. And I've worked for both C.R. Bard as well as Boston Scientific, had fantastic experiences at both. AngioDynamics, I have to say, has one of the most unique, amazing cultures that I've ever experienced, and I am so incredibly proud to be a part of that company. The benefit of having other like-minded companies in the region is that we often attract employees from those industries, so they can come in already trained. However, they're also trying to attract our employees. So we've had some employees come back for a couple of rounds here and there, so especially in our manufacturing organization. I will say that the way we try to differentiate ourselves is through our culture. We've done so much for our manufacturing employees. My CEO, Jim Clemmer, loves to go up and have lunch with all of the employees at the plant, and we provide pizza. They really appreciate all of that. They worked every single day through the pandemic, like a lot of manufacturing employees had to, and we focused completely on the health and safety of each and every employee as they built our quality life-saving products. And I will say that our culture around how we recognize our employees, how we treat our employees has differentiated ourselves from some of those other like-minded companies in the region, and I am supremely proud to be a part of it.
To your point, earlier you asked about, you mentioned, obviously you have a manufacturing, you all do, and this is X not on the list, so I apologize, it's one of the sanctioned questions. But, you mentioned being flexible to the extent that you can. So what are some things that you've actually done throughout the pandemic to be more flexible with the manufacturing workforce who absolutely has to be there every day?
Yeah, so it's been hard. We had a similar situation to Regeneron where that Kate mentioned, where we had a lot of employees out because either they were sick with COVID or their families were sick with COVID. So we had the long quarantines, and it was a tremendous impact to our manufacturing. We kept paying our people 100% during that time. We did not have a layoff. We did not have a furlough. And our employees, I know, appreciated all of that as we navigated through this unprecedented experience of COVID. With regards to flexibility, we do what we can. If employees don't have childcare, we obviously allow them the time off. They can work when they're available. It does create challenges on certain lines where we need every person there to get the product out. So we have a very large population of employees that we've retained for countless years. They've worked, we have some 40-year employees, some 30-year employees that have 5 weeks vacation, and they won't go anywhere else. And so they are just really happy to be a part of our company. So again, not ideal, but we've done the best we can.
Thanks. And Rocio, CONMED performs much of its manufacturing in the Mohawk Valley, an area that has not really seen a lot of growth. But Utica has had growth in immigration, refugee communities. Can you talk about your success with those populations, and also the challenges that the current immigration, situation is in that?
That's okay. Like I said, a big portion of our population is coming from that refugee and immigrant population. Most of our people is still there. So, like I said, they have been with us for 30 plus years around. What I can say is that I'm very proud of them. It's really committed, very loyal. They care, and they are transferring that care to their families as well. So the fact that we've seen is not only, we have new people and everything, but now we're seeing their families to join our teams as well. So their childs and everything, they are also joining the company. So that's great to see. Another thing that we have is as far as training. So like I said, it's definitely an impact. But training it's been our biggest issue. So when you talk about processes that are 30 plus years or anything, it's hard to transfer all that knowledge into a new person. So that has been the main thing. We've seen newer generations joining. We're seeing, and they are happy to help us implementing. One of the effects that we're seeing in the industry as well is medical devices kind of conservative, adapting new technologies immediately. So there's a lot of validation. There's a lot of work to be done up front. So that's not attractive at all, or very much to younger generations, so that has been a challenge. But in general, like I said, we have a good population. I mean, I don't know if we're going to see some immigrants coming up again in this area right now, but Bosnian, Vietnamese, and we have, like I said, 27 countries in general that represented there. So yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something we talked about earlier. I want to stay in touch with you on because we're starting to have conversations with organizations who work with refugee and immigrant communities, and because we've heard such great things from employers who hire them, their loyalty, and their great workforce. We've talked a little bit about some of these things, but a past year and a half, there's obviously been significant increases in wages for service, retail, and fast food. What kind of pressure has that imposed on your companies, and have your companies implemented strategies to deal with these challenges?
All right. So yeah, I mean, that has been definitely the biggest issue, like I said, is in the temp workforce. So we have to be creative. I mean, what we've done is work a lot in the process improvements, so finding efficiencies and ways to offset. Our people is first, and our CEO's strategy since day one has been put people first, and similar to what they were saying is during pandemic that stayed true. We didn't have layoffs or anything, and we have been working on different incentive programs and bonuses and everything to have that essential workers support. And yeah, I mean, that's basically what we have been doing is finding ways to optimize our processes, finding ways to recover or offset those investments that we're doing in additional wages, and staying at the top of the line as much as we can as far as technology goes.
So throughout the pandemic, we had to do a lot to incentivize workforce to come to work, basically. I mean, they knew what they were doing was important, but we also wanted to recognize the fact that half of our population was sitting at home. I think the perspective was that we were all in our pajamas, scrolling Netflix at some point, I don't know. But so we wanted to ensure that those people who were coming to work 4 days a week, in most cases we offer 4/10s, which is I do think is an incentive where our manufacturing workers do have 3 days off. We had report to site pay that we offered on a weekly basis that people received as long as they came on site, at least even if it was just for 1 day of that week, they would receive that fund. We offered free food throughout the pandemic as well. We also offered services where they could pick up dinner and bring it home, or breakfast in some cases for our third shift workers, and bring it home to their families. I mean, we explored lots and lots of different options because at many times we were fearful that we weren't going to be able to allow our employees to even leave the site in fear that they would be exposed to COVID-19 while out in the community. So they really worked with us. You know, they didn't take vacations. They didn't do much of anything besides go to work and go home and come back. So it was a lot. It was a real lot. And although Regeneron obviously experienced great success out of a result of that, we wanted to ensure that it wasn't the people at the top, I guess, that was receiving additional recognition, financial recognition. We wanted to ensure that everyone felt a piece of that. We like to do things a little fun, so we gave everyone candy bars one day when they walked in the door, and they had these golden tickets in them. And the golden ticket basically said, in an hour or so, you'll receive an email. It will tell you what the golden ticket is for. We thought that was super exciting. However, I guess most 20-year-olds don't know Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So I felt really old, because inside I still feel 20. But I guess I'm not. So we had explained that. But anyway, the golden ticket basically revealed that they were receiving, an additional financial bonus in their check that week. So it was just, I think the anticipation of the golden ticket was kind of fun, and just the effort of trying to ensure that everyone from the bottom up received a little bit of recognition. It was actually right a month before we do our annual bonuses and increases. So I think people weren't really expecting it at the time. We were hopeful that people would be able to enjoy the holidays a little bit more. So it was fun, but it is a challenge. We ask a lot of our folks, and it's something we're constantly thinking of right now, especially with inflation the way it is.
Yeah, and it's funny. So of course everybody loves a free meal, but it's the communal, of gathering for a meal, even if you're sending it home. There's a communal aspect to that people really connect with, and that's what it's, you want people to connect with each other, with your company. Marna, same question. The challenges of the wages.
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier that has provided some significant pressure on us in our manufacturing organization, and we've done a lot of creative things to incentivize and recognize our employees. Not as creative as a Willy Wonka golden ticket. Salim, let's remember that. I actually really like that idea. So, but we have done a lot of annual and recognition bonuses that come as a surprise. The employees aren't expecting them. We've also done some pretty generous referral bonuses and stay bonuses, a lot of compensation-related efforts. However, we've also worked really, really hard at our culture and creating an engaging, high-performing culture. And we've done that through bringing on some high-level talent in our plant leadership that has done a really great job of engaging our hourly employees. And you know, we do try to continue to create that fun atmosphere, starting with our CEO, who is willing to dress up and go on site and just make a fool out of himself because he doesn't care and has a really good time doing it. But so many of the executive team will do the same, and will go in and engage the team. But the wage pressure has been pretty considerable throughout the last year, 2 years.
Something else that I recalled, something that the people appreciated a lot was we provided emotional support as well during pandemic. So even, I mean, providing gel, hand sanitizer, or anything with people, I mean, that was sick or anything, or their families. And another thing was a bonus that was based on years of service. So having that, people that had been there for 40 years or plus, it was very, very, very well taken, and people was very excited about it. So yeah, that was really nice.
Great. So we've touched on a few of these. We talked about flexible scheduling, but other challenges that we know for the workforce faces are childcare and transportation. You mentioned you're a terrible teacher. I also would probably be a terrible teacher. Much respect for the teachers. But the childcare and transportation issues, is that a challenge for your workforce, and how have you helped to address that? Start with Marna.
Yeah, childcare. We have a lot of single moms working in our company, and you know, we've created schedules where employees can stay home with their kids. It was really hard over the last 2 years. Transportation is also an issue. Our plant tends to be, it's in a very rural part of Queensbury. And I think there may be one bus line that goes there once a week or something. So we do offer transportation to our employees, and we will cover that to get them to work. So that's been a benefit that a lot of our employees have really appreciated. But
I'm sorry. Can you just tell me a little bit more about that? Like, how do you? That's a challenge for so many people in rural parts of the state. So what does that actually look like?
We cover the taxi fare to get people to work and back. And so it's a expensive prospect, and it's considerable for us, but we make it work, and our employees so appreciate it. We do help them with carpooling. We help them find rides. During COVID, 3 folks that were doing the carpooling and all ended up getting COVID, so that didn't help us because then they were all out of the plant. But we you know, try a lot of creative options to get people in the door, and they appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Kate?
Childcare has definitely been on the minds of our employees. We traditionally hire a lot of entry-level hires, thankful to Alex and his team, but then they all fall in love and have families. So we have a big, mid-20 population. I think it's, what are we at now? 60% of our population is under the age of 40. So childcare is definitely on their mind, especially because a lot of our employees work 24/7, so they have untraditional schedules. So we did open a child care center. We own the building. Bright Horizons operates it. It has slots for about 150 to 175 kids. Thankfully, I not involved directly with that very much. But it was a really fun process, actually. We got a lot of working parents together to provide us with their wants and desires in terms of what they were looking for out of a child care center. There is a little STEM room where the kids get to wear little Regeneron lab coats and goggles and stuff. It's pretty cute, I know. My kids are too old for it, but knowing my luck, my kid would have been the biter, and it would have turned into an HR issue at the daycare center. So I'm happy my kids didn't have a chance to go there. But anyway, so that we do an employee experience survey every year, and we really try to look at what is the biggest thing on our employees' minds and see what we can do about it. Childcare was on the list for a while, so I'm happy to say we've checked that off the list. There is a little bit of a waiting list from time to time, but it is full. People seem to be enjoying it, and it seems to be able to meet their needs. If not, we have a really good relationship with Bright Horizons, where we're able to offer discounts at their other locations. Transportation, not so much something we're dealing with. Besides that, we don't have enough parking for our employees, but other than that. So we encourage carpooling, but not during COVID.
Yeah, childcare has
I hear you on that
been,
one.
an issue that, lawmakers, want to encourage, companies to get on-site childcare. It's obviously a huge challenge. It's not a revenue-making business, right? It's generally a loss for companies who do it. I'm not going to ask you, but there is an opportunity. The state has gotten like $1.8 billion to its Office of Children and Family Services for childcare. A lot of that has gone as stabilization grants to current providers, but there is a new pot of funding coming out. We're going to be doing a webinar on it for businesses looking to create partnerships. So stay tuned on that. But
I was just going to mention, most of the time our employees are telling us that they can't find childcare in this area. It's waiting lists are ridiculous. So that was one of the main drivers for us to do it as well.
We need more slots. We need non-traditional hours, right, for shift workers. So there's some, especially the 0 to 5 age is also a high need. Hopefully some of this new funding will be put to good use. So, Rocio?
For us, like I said, it's not been a biggest issue for childcare. We're actually hiring the child, so that's great. Hopefully, grandparents are going to take care of the child when the time comes. But no, in transportation, we're in a lucky area. I mean, everything takes about 10 minutes to go from a point to another, and most of our population has their own car and everything. I mean, we do have issues with storms or anything like that, we provide taxi. I mean, it's similar, we pay taxis or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, it hasn't really been an issue. Our biggest challenge has been mostly finding skill workforce. I mean, we have a molding process, we have gel manufacturing, we have automation. So those are the type of skills that when we lose them, that's what affects us. And we have some programs in place to train our own and to partner with some local universities. So. All right.
Actually, that's perfect to cue us up for the next question on training and education. So what training and education programs, like what are your training and education needs? What programs have you been successful working with?
So actually, I mean, like I said, it's mainly molding. Molding factory is one of our biggest business in there. And then the automation, as we go and evolve into the new technology and everything, I mean, programming and automation, it's one of the major needs. What we've done is we have a fantastic internship program. I mean, and actually a lot of our workforce and talented people is coming from those programs. So very successful. We're having probably an average about 10 people that it's every summer in there, and then most of them, we retain them through the rest of the year until they graduate, and then we hire them immediately. So that has been very, very good. Our tech level or technician level is the one that has been a little bit more challenging. What we did is we partnered recently with MBCC, so creating our own programming and everything for electricity, for some specific training courses that we're running all our workforce through for the mechanics people, and yeah, finding those connections and everything. So Julie Hall, I think she's around. She's also running those connections and everything, and has done a fantastic job on that connectivity.
So I think I mentioned earlier, our strategy really is to hire entry-level hires right out of college. So we've done a really good job at developing an in-house training program for our bioproduction specialists who actually work in the clean rooms and the process areas. what we've decided we wanted to be is the place where people come and steal our talent, quite frankly. And we are getting there with Regeneron's brand being as big as it is. That's the one negative. People know where to find us now. And so, our 3 to 5 year folks are going and getting managerial jobs based on the experience they've had with Regeneron, and we're okay with that. We're confident, like you were saying, that they'll come back, they'll be back. And we'll take them back, because that outside experience that they'll gain someplace else will be valuable to us then. Also, though, as I mentioned, we are opening a whole new line of business for us, the Fill Finish, which introduces us to, I think, get more involved with the community. We will have visual inspections, folks who will just kind of have to do the same thing day in and day out. So Alex actually is partnering with a local organization to understand how we can employ people in the community who may be diagnosed with autism. And that may be a great opportunity for us to diversify our population that way. We are now in a partnership with Troy High School, where we are mentoring students at Troy High, not just because I went there, but to hopefully get them interested in STEM and hopefully grow them into our internship program, which is huge. Right now I think we have 189 interns coming in this summer. Apparently we're growing again next year, which I think to 250, yes. Alex was not gray when he first came to work for us. He's only a little gray in the beard, just a little. But so, that's been really exciting. Our students love it. We're super excited to get them back on our campus. Virtual internships are interesting. But as much as we can, I think we recognize our responsibility to contribute to the community and make sure that as we grow our workforce, we're growing it in the right way and involving our local community in doing so.
Marna?
I would say that training in our manufacturing site is not an issue for us. We have a really strong, there are entry-level employees coming in. We have a fantastic training function that gets our people up to speed very quickly. In other parts of our company, it's a bigger task. We've done it a couple of different ways. We also have used our internship program to build the skills and the capabilities we need for the future, and it's been primarily utilized in our marketing teams, to a lesser degree in our sales organization, but also in our R&D function. And we feel the very same way, and what's happened is those interns have done so well and learned so much at AngioDynamics that other companies have really pushed hard to come and steal those employees. I'm proud of it, and I say the same thing, that I think they're going to come back, and a few have. So again, I think we have this great culture that a lot of employees do want to come back to. The other thing we do, and it's really the training, what we often have to do is hire people with the skill sets already available, right? Many of us on the leadership team and throughout the organization have worked in medical device companies previously, and we have a huge network of colleagues that would love to come and work for our company. So I will say our referral program is probably a whole lot more utilized than internal training development. Well, I shouldn't say development, but training of specific skill sets.
Yeah, I look at it like, kids go away to college and then they come back, Yeah. they need to take a little more experience.
Exactly.
Before we open it up to questions, just any last comments, anything you wanted to mention that we didn't already talk about? And I'll start with Kate.
I guess the one thing I don't think we spent a lot of time talking about today was, besides the pandemic, there was a lot of tragic things that happened in society over the past 2 years. Diversity, I think, was a topic that we talked about at Regeneron, but something we didn't think we necessarily needed to worry about, and I think we were wrong. We've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to talk about diversity and inclusion and equality amongst our workforce. It's been a huge learning experience for myself. I guess when we started on that journey, even before some of that happened, I had this philosophy that I wanted Regeneron to be a place where you left your baggages at the door and you came in and we didn't worry about it. And actually our executive vice president said I had it all wrong. He had said, you need to bring your baggage and plop it on the table, and we're going to talk about all that baggage, because the baggage is what makes you who you are. So we've been on a bit of a journey, as I hate that word, but we've been on a journey to figure out how to make the uncomfortable comfortable. We've developed what we call these Let's Talk series, where actually a group of employees gets together around a specific topic, whether it be mental health, invisible disabilities, women of color, the LGBTQ plus community, and they develop a little vignette that really just creates conversation. And employees sit around and have conversations about this 2-minute vignette. Sometimes they end in tears, sometimes it ends in hugging. We've actually had probably about a half a dozen employees who have decided to actually be more open about the fact that they're going through a transition, which has been really a beautiful thing. Even a group in our warehouse threw an employee a transition party because their family actually was not supportive of their change. And they had balloons and cupcakes and now talk about the fact that their work family, in fact, is their only family. So a lot of good has come out of that, a lot of learning. I think we have a lot more to go, and feel just really fortunate that I guess we were kind of pushed into having a conversation that's actually so critical to ensuring that you're having a great place to work.
Thank you. Do we have time for questions? Do we want to? Okay.
Well,
Did you
it looks
go-
like we're tight on time, so that's fine. No, it's all
Okay.
right.
Any last comment? Okay. Any questions from the audience? We can maybe wrap in final comments too. Yes.
I just wanted to thank Kate for mentioning the autism community. There are a number of employees or potential employees out there, people with disabilities that can work part-time, and organizations, nonprofits, and I'm with a nonprofit, are working to get the Social Security laws changed so that there isn't as low a minimum on what they can make, so people can actually go back to work if they have a disability without losing other benefits. So the unemployment rate in that population is immense. And even reaching out to your local ARCs, organizations in your communities, in your school, your special education programs, don't forget those folks. Everyone has some ability, and I appreciate you mentioning that.
Yeah, maybe Melinda can double check it's like 70% for disabled people, 70% unemployment. Yeah. And to go along with that, things that you may see, things that we value in job interviews, eye contact, are just things that people with autism struggle with, but they may be the best person to analyze data. You just need to look at different skill sets like that. So, any other questions, comments? I think our time's up. Oh, last one.
I come from an area where historic people like George F. Johnson and Thomas J. Watson are recognized for their community involvement, for how good they treated their employees. I think that what you guys have brought out is something that's very important that all employers need to realize, is that when an employee feels valued by their employer, they'll go the extra mile. Right? They'll work harder, do the overtime, and they'll do it joyfully. They'll sacrifice time with their family to do what they need to do at work. And what you guys have done in a lot of these programs you talk about is you've made the employees feel valued, right? That they're important to you. And I've worked at both kinds of places where you don't feel valued and where you do feel valued. I worked at IBM for a lot of years when employees were, you just felt like you were on top of the world. You had it better than anybody else. And if you can do that for your employees, and it sounds like a lot of you are doing that for your employees, maybe all of you are, and that's a wonderful thing, and that's a big lesson for the rest of the manufacturers.
Thank you for that. It's a perfect way to end.
I think that is. Thank you. Amber, Marna, Jen, Rocio, and Kate, listen, thank you very much. Before we let them leave and let you guys get to lunch, I will say, from a guy who often has to worry about his tendency to mansplain, I will say I am mindful looking at this panel and as I'm thinking about some of the diversity issues. that former Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg was once asked, when will we have enough women on the Supreme Court? And her answer was, when we have 9 of them. And I think to have a panel like this of operations folks at our industries is really a testament as well to you and to the work that your companies are doing. So thank you. I also hope that as you've listened to the earlier remarks, this conversation, and the conversations that we will be having through this afternoon, it has sparked connections, thoughts, ideas for each of you. This is, the goal today is to forge some meaningful partnerships and to find some solutions. So whether you see yourself on the buying end of solutions or on the selling end of solutions, I would encourage you to see if you can make some of those connections. With that said, we will take an hour break to have some lunch and hopefully some networking. I'd encourage you to pop out of your comfort zone and maybe find someone new that you haven't met to sit and have some lunch with. But with that, I will let this panel go and we can enjoy lunch. Thanks very much.